Welcome to the Purpose to Profits program. This week I have a very special guest who you all know really well, Andrea. And Andrea Hunterayco is her name. And if you don't already know that, my goodness. But we're going to have some fun here. And I have asked Andrea to come on this week's training video because she has a very interesting process that I want her to share with you. Over the last number of weeks, we have been talking about the sales process and breaking down the sales process. Actually, marketing first, right, and then the sales process, and going through that whole thing. And now it's time for you, and this is now your opportunity to be able to build your sales process. So I thought an example might help, and this is specifically designed for those of you that have service businesses, which is pretty much all of you, is to when you have a service businesses, how do you bring in your leads? What do you do with them? How do you warm them up? What's your taster, your appetizer? How do you take them to the next step? And so we're going to talk about the discovery session here, but also the whole process to how Andrea brings people into the discovery session and what she does afterwards. I think this is going to be hugely valuable for you. And because the thing is in a sales process, one of the advantages of building the sales process is it becomes replicatable. It's something that you can do, you can repeat over and over and over again, and do it with consistency, do it with excellence. And so Andrea has demonstrated that here beautifully. So without further ado, Andrea, hi, I'm glad you're here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
The frog in my throat.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So the other side advantage of having Andrea on this is that I don't have to talk as much, hopefully. So
yes, you do.
Anyway, she's like, yeah, you do. All right. So we're going to have some fun. Is it all right that we have some fun? Yes?
Sure, let's have fun.
Good. So Andrea, let's start off with, let me ask you this, is, you developed this system. Why did you even develop the system in the first place?
Well, that's a great question because I really needed to overcome my fear of sales. That was the main reason why I started to piece together all of this. And I didn't know what I was doing as a coach at the beginning. I had zero confidence. I'd come from a background in sales. I was an insurance professional before, and then I also had network marketing training. But I needed something that would help me kind of move from the hard sell to the heart sell. So I was listening.
Like that. Hard sell to heart sell.
Right.
Very nice.
So at the beginning, all I did was listen to leaders in the industry, and I just took all kinds of information, and then I kind of created this to help me move, my contacts to clients.
Excellent. Well, and one of the things is some of you, we've gone through some of the personality assessment, talking about different personalities. You can tell one of Andrea's strengths is her attention to detail. And that's that C personality coming out, where she wants to make sure there's a process and there's a right way to do things. And so why not figure out what the right way to do it is and duplicate it, replicate it over and over and over again. And Andrea, you've been getting some pretty impressive conversion
results. Yeah, like it's plus 50%.
Over 50%. So for those of you that are watching, how many of you would like to have from a discovery session where you're talking to a new person that you've offered to get on the phone with? How would you like to convert over 50% to clients? Yes? Yeah, I think that would be pretty good. Let me tell you, in the industry, that's pretty good. Okay. And so, especially because she doesn't have a huge education process leading up to that. It's not like she's, got this, multiple videos. She's literally going from a hello to, to giving them a little bit of interest in terms of what she does, a little information, maybe a flyer and so forth. And then from there, inviting them to her newsletter. Maybe they check out her newsletter a little bit. And then literally from that point, going into the discovery session, which means that all of you can do this. This is not complicated.
Very easy.
And so I was one of the things I love about it. So it's not something that is a hindrance for other people to take advantage of. Like, good for Andrea, yay! But I'd never put something complicated like that in place.
Right.
So that's why you did it. Now tell us a little bit about what is your system. I alluded to it a little bit.
You did, and that's awesome.
Actually, before I start, and as you can see, we're kind of playing around with this because I'm not used to on these training videos. Usually it's me doing it. But the action guides, grab your action guide, print it out so you have somewhere that you can write some notes on what she's talking about here, because we are going to go through it pretty in depth, but also quickly enough that you're going to want to capture some of these notes for yourself. Okay. To be fair to Andrea, this is her secret sauce. This is her system. She's peeling back the curtain and telling us how she's doing it. So let's make sure that we make the most of it here today. So then, Andrea, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So the first step really is making sure that you have a list and constantly building that list. So you need to have a way of obtaining their emails, the email addresses. So, have a capture opt-in on your website above the fold. That's key. And also your Facebook also will be able to capture emails for that as well. But I was finding that this wasn't working very quickly, and I really needed a way to accelerate that. And of course, anything that you're doing that's within your control, you want to kind of just put it into practice. And I was going to try and do that every day, reach out to 10 people on my contact lists and obtain their email address. So I do that with just a very brief request saying, I'm a new coach, I'm building this community, I'd love to include you, so that they feel like they're chosen. So, and then I get their email address and immediately put it into my MailChimp. And I have two lists. I have a master list and I have a new subscriber list. And I never use the word subscriber because nobody wants to subscribe to anything new. It's another key.
Yes, good point.
So that's how we start with that. And then I just glean them from my Facebook friends, from the Facebook business page, from my LinkedIn contacts, and from my email connections as well.
Got it. So first of all, you said a lot in there. So let's break it down. So first of all, you talked about it being personal.
Yes.
So you're making a personalized message to people rather than hey you, yep. Hey everybody. The other thing you're doing is that you're bringing them in. Now you talk about 2 lists in MailChimp. Now for those of you that don't know what MailChimp is, sorry, I'm looking around to keep around into the camera. But the thing is okay. So MailChimp is an email.
Free newsletter platform.
Newsletter platform. There are other ones out there. It happens to be one that is really great. In fact, I started to use it as well. 2 reasons. Number one, it's cheaper than what I had before. My Infusionsoft was a lot more expensive and I wasn't using all the features. The other reason why is that there is a free version, that it's something that anybody can use, and it's not like it's this big cost. Whereas Infusionsoft, people weren't using that. So I'd talk about it, but then it's like, well, most people weren't going to use it. They weren't ready for that for a while. So there is also with MailChimp, just like it sounds, MailChimp as in like the monkey, MailChimp.com. There's also a paid version. So if you want to eliminate the MailChimp little logo on the bottom, because that's their branding, right? So it's free. So you can use a free version. They want to brand it. But if you want to remove that, you just need to pay for the paid version. And once you get over 500 subscribers or people on your list, then it's $10. And then as I said, if you remove it, that also allows you, there's some really neat tools in there. There's also an automation that you can incorporate in the paid version as well. As I said, $10 a month. That's pretty cheap, right? I mean, for your business. And as I said, you can have up to 500 subscribers. And so with that automation, then what you can do is that if somebody actually subscribes to your list, like the lead capture, Andrea, you were talking about the lead capture page, if you actually do have that set up and somebody does subscribe from there, and let's say you offer them a free gift or something, that can that automation sets it up so that that free gift automatically goes to them, which is really cool. So those are, so if you're looking for something, there's also Aweber, there's Constant Contact, Eye Contact is another one. There's a bunch of them out there that are really inexpensive or free. And so check them out and make sure that you have something that you're using to capture your list. So that's really, you mentioned that, it's really important. There was a gentleman, I forget who it was. I think it was Jim Cavell, who I interviewed on my podcast from Iron Tribe Fitness. And he, did I say I wasn't going to talk so much? Oh, apparently not.
That's okay.
So, but as you're saying this, I'm thinking of some certain things. But Jim Cavell from Iron Tribe is a phenomenal businessman and really humble guy. It's very, very savvy. And he said your greatest asset in your business is your list. Yes. Without a list, it's like you don't even have a business. You got nobody to market to.
There's no raw material.
There's no raw material. There's no inventory. There's nothing to work with.
Yeah.
You're out there and you've got this, you can have this beautiful storefront. You're like, ta-da. I mean, how many people have a website and they're like, ta-da, I'm here. And, unfortunately, I mean, when websites came out, I'm old enough to remember when websites, came into being. Andrea, I think you are as well. Yep. And so, it's like people were setting up these websites and just expecting like droves of people to come there. It's not happening, right? So you need to build that traffic. And once they come, you need to build that list. So that's a really another important piece that you talked about. So list, being personal in terms of inviting them. You also mentioned about 2 lists in MailChimp. So, and I just took that moment because some people may not be familiar with it. I don't want to assume anything.
That's awesome.
Now, why 2 lists again in MailChimp?
Okay. So once they come in, I need to differentiate them because once they're first in, they're going to get a welcome letter from me, right? And so once I've given them the welcome letter, then I'll transfer them over from the new subscribers into the master community.
Got it. So the new subscriber kind of reminds you who you need to send it to.
Exactly. And what I'll do is I'll build that new subscriber list every week, and I'll send out my newsletter, and then I transfer them. So I basically empty that out, transfer it over into the main community, and then I start again the next week with adding in my new people. Got it.
Now, so this is where Andrea, she's got the free version, right? So she's not paying anything for it, so you don't even need the automation. You're showing how you can do it, yourself. Okay. If she wanted to, she could get the automation, and that would do it automatically. So give her, do the automatic welcome. And it's personalized. Hey, hi, Andrea, welcome. Thank you, right? And then they would automatically get it, and then, they would be automatically on the list. But she's saving herself, some money, and it also gives you the advantage to doing it that way to start off with. I certainly started off with manual, more like a manual approach in the beginning because, didn't have computers and didn't have these fancy dancy software programs, and so it was manual. The advantage is that you actually are very personal. You are very hands-on with, present. You're very present to the people that are on your list. And there's an energetic thing, not to get into woo-woo, but there is something that is really, that there's a magic in that. When you do that, when you're actually personally sending things out to people and they feel it, they feel that love coming through the airwaves. So
for sure,
that is great. All right, so now so you got them in your list. Now what?
Well, let's talk about the welcome letter because it's really important.
Let's do that. Yeah.
The welcome letter obviously has a number of different features. It's going to let my subscribers know that they're joining this awesome community. So I tell them, who's involved in my community. I have people at every age and stage and level of success in their life. Some people are just starting out in their careers. I've got 14-year-olds. I've got 78-year-olds. They're in 14 or 15 different countries now. And they come from all walks of life and backgrounds. So it's a community that they can feel that it's, a safe, supportive, collaborative place. So I want them to be excited coming into this community. I want it to feel special so that they can contribute because and I tell them this as well in the newsletter, every issue that I send out also features a member, a community member's business or their hero's journey, something that's related to success somehow, because I guess the newsletter is about success, right? So I'm trying to let them know how it's going to benefit them.
Well, it's actually success, but it's your Coach for Life, which is your
life
brand, which is like, yeah, you're coaching people for life, for success in life. Yes. Go ahead.
Awesome. I also take people when I'm going to test out a new program or test out a promotion or something. That's where I will get my group. So I let them know that they've got premier pricing. They're going to have, first dibs on spaces and programs, stuff like that. And then at the bottom, I have a welcome gift, and that's my free discovery session.
Got it. So you bring them into your list, then you welcome them, and then you give them a free gift where that becomes a discovery session. So for those of you thinking that you need to have landing pages with fancy dancy, opt-ins and so forth, you don't necessarily need to do that. You could literally just be reaching out to people personally. Again, this is we're limiting the barrier to entry here, right? Saying, oh, that's so complicated. I don't know what I would do. I don't know where to start. You know what? Just reach out to people personally, get them on the list, and then personally invite them to that free gift, which doesn't have to be anything written. It doesn't have to be this fancy, e-book report, that kind of thing. It's your discovery session, and then you get a chance to really get to know them. Perfect. So let's talk about this discovery session.
Well, at the beginning, I didn't even know what a discovery session was. So I kind of had to do a lot of figuring all of this stuff out. So what you're getting right now is the result of like a year and a half of piecing together this whole process. Right. So obviously, the discovery session is a chance for them to get to know you as a coach and experience your coaching.
By the way, so I just want to say, this is for you're a coach. So she's applying. So just if you're watching and you're saying, I'm not a coach. Number one, several of you are coaches. So you're going to find this useful. But if you are not a coach, do not tune out, because what you're sharing here could be something that you could use in your business.
Right.
So, maybe you have a, spa business or, skincare. Some of you are into skincare and health and all that. You know what? You could do a discovery session on the phone and talk to people there, and then from there schedule them for a treatment in your studio or your salon. Or you could have them come in, and this can be your introductory consultation, which you're bringing them into your location and doing it there. There's two ways that you can do it, but this is where you're building relationship and gives you the opportunity to talk to people about, get to know them, but also for them to get to know you and what you do. And it's basically it's like a sales call. Yeah. It's much better than that, because they're actually going to get value from this. So I want to be clear on that for those of you who are listening. My brain's a little foggy today, still, so I don't know that I even mentioned that in the beginning, but I wanted to, this is for anybody who has a service business. If you're a financial advisor, all right, Raul, you're a financial advisor. Walter, is in tax planning, and he's got other businesses he's doing as well. The thing is this is any time you're always going to do this session. This
free consultation.
Is the free consultation, the discovery session if you're a coach. It's it's that first taster that we talked about a few weeks ago. It's that first taster in the whole course, the meal that you're putting together for people. So I want to be clear. This applies to all of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I'll get off my rant.
No, don't. It's also your opportunity to make an awesome impression.
Yes.
It's really important to be prepared.
Yes.
So what I had prepared ahead of time, obviously, is your free resource, because your discovery session has to kind of deliver on the promise that you're going to help them with their success or move towards their goals. So make sure you have a free resource ready. And then what I also give
us an example. What's a free resource that you might give?
Like a copy of You Inc., or because you can get that PDF copy, it's available. And it depends on what they're going to be coming to you for. So I have like a whole bunch of tools that are already created and ready to go for them. And it's just like,
how do you select those? Like, which resources are the right ones for?
Well, if they're it depends on what they're coming to me for. So if they're looking for a mate, then I would kind of have like I do a values assessment. So I'd have a values assessment ready for them so that they can kind of zone in on what it is that they're really looking for, right?
Got it. And then if they're in business or they want to start a business, that's where You Inc. comes in, or
right.
some of the ones.
Yeah, and the resource that you have is amazing for that too. So, I mean, I've recommended your resource.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And she's talking about the 7 steps to maximizing
your potential.
Yeah, 30-day guide. You can get it on the website, discovertheedge.com. But
that one's awesome for anybody who's coming.
So you're using other people's stuff.
For sure, because you want to let them know that you're as invested in their success as they are. You're going to do whatever it's going to take. It's not all just about my products and services. It's about helping them, right?
Yeah. Got it. Just because you mentioned that, and I can hear some of you thinking, I don't know what I would give away as those free resources. So, just think about your industry. Think about what would be relevant to what they're coming. Maybe it is, maybe it could be something on skincare or sunscreen, or, something that you've seen, an article that somebody's written about that. They're coming. What's that? A link
to a website.
Something that you're giving. So the idea here, the psychological thing, is you're giving them a lot of free resources because you're honestly saying, I want to help you to provide a solution to the problem that you have. And that problem that you have is that top of mind problem that you have, that they have, that's why they're coming to you in the first place. And here's a little thing, and I know I keep starting and stopping. Just as you're saying, is want to make sure that we unpack this for, and make this really, to understand the why behind some of these things. But, when you when you're giving free value to people, totally lost my train of thought. When I interrupted myself, when you're giving people, value, it's like you're honestly saying you really want to help them. And then they get to know you as that trusted advisor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're leading with service, right?
Right. Exactly. So anyway, discovery session. Yes.
Yeah. So free resource, and there's like massive information available on websites. So it's somebody coming to me for debt reduction, and I'll refer them right to Dave Ramsey's site because there's so many amazing things there. And I can't provide that. I can help them get to that, and I can support them as they go through all that. But he's a master, right? It's the same concept. But I do always have 2 programs available that I want to talk to them about at the end of the session. And that would be like an entry-level program as well as a signature system. Okay. And you don't have to have them all built, but you do have to have it kind of created in your mind enough to be able to talk about it intelligently. So make sure you're ready.
Got it. Thank you. So when you go through this discovery session, another thing with a lot of times what people do is when they do like consults or discovery sessions, and then they say, well, those don't work, or, I've done so many of them and my conversion rates are low, and people come and then they're like, oh, thanks. And then they leave. What is that about? Well, like you mentioned, you want to have something that you're going to offer them. You want to allow them choice. How long are your discovery sessions, by the way?
45 minutes. So that they can do it. You want something they can do on a lunch break, because I find that
Right. Yeah. Not like 3 hours we're going to spend. But so here's it, that you want them, it's a taster, right? Mm-hmm. So a taster is just that. It's a taster. It keeps them wanting more. If you give them, so you want to give them value, but if you give them too much value, then they're like, wow, you've just loaded a whole bunch of stuff on me. I've got to go back through now and process all of this before I'm ready for anything else. Because you basically just, basically threw the steak or threw all the, through 6 courses on me, right? 6-course meal you dropped it on me. I'm like, I got to digest this first. Right. So you want to give them value, but you don't want to give them so much that it's overwhelming to them. So there's a balance between that, where you're giving them a taster, you're giving them some information saying, hey, you can take a look at this. Right. But keeping the theme is still staying in the discovery session. The other thing is, the reason why I asked you how long a discovery session is because if it's 45 minutes, my guess is that when you get to about the 30 to 35 minute, when you get to that point, you are transitioning into talking about your program. So you've got to allow enough time for yourself, for you to be able to share what you recommend as your package. Otherwise, you have these great conversations and people go away and we're like, well, that was really wonderful, but you've never made the offer.
Right.
Happens all the time. All the time. And so you need to make sure, leave yourself the time to be able to, so if it's a 45-minute call, 30 minutes. And then you start transitioning somewhere in there, where you have, I know you have a question that is that transition question that leads to the next step. For me, sometimes I'll just say, okay, well, so how can I help you with that? Or what can I do? So it's like, now we're moving into, okay, what are we going to do together to get results that you're looking for? Right. And by the way, Andrea has documented this so well, which is, as I said, the reason why she's on this call is because I was so impressed. And I've done tons of these. So it's not like I'm looking at it, somebody doesn't know. I mean, I know how to do these things. And I do them in my sleep. I looked at this and went, this is awesome. I wouldn't change anything about it.
Right. Thanks, Nicole.
And no, seriously, yeah, and she shared with me her process. She literally has scripted out every single step of this process. Not to be that it's mechanical, but so that but it flows. It's tough to do. That means that you've got to have done it enough times, right? And have practice with it so that it's a conversation, not just a script because I'm not a big fan of reading scripts, but it's actually a conversation and it's a flow of a conversation, because even though the conversations are going to go in different directions depending on who you have on the call, there is a commonality to every single one of them. And so she's actually scripted this and documented it, which is part of her offer. She's actually got a package which she's developed, which she's now, because people are coming to her and asking her for all her copywriting help. And so she's literally said, okay, here's my secret sauce. This is how I do it. These are my step-by-step, steps that I take. And here's not only send them a welcome letter. Here's what my welcome letter is. Here's what I do in my discoveries. This is actually how I flow through my discovery session. Here's all the different, aspects of it. So really, really cool. And I'm excited. Now, if you're watching, hopefully you're getting some value in just learning what can you do for yourself, following with the action guide, start writing this down. Okay, I got to build my list. Number 2, I'm going to welcome and invite new subscribers on. I'm going to do a discovery session, which is step 3. And you can start building this for yourself. Okay. And start asking yourself, okay, so what types of gift-free resources can I give away in this discovery session? Okay. So I encourage you just not to listen to what Andrea is doing and saying, well, that's good for her, but how can I apply this for me in my own business? Okay, so now, Andrea, without giving away your secret sauce, but give us a rough idea of how do you, because to be fair, I mean, Andrea's put a heck of a lot of work into this. I want to respect her, even though I said to her, hey, can you come on and share? But I don't want her to also, just do it for free, so to speak, and give all her information away, because this is actually a product that she sells. Okay, and so and I want to respect that.
Thanks, Nicole.
As I would for all of you, in your products in the services that you provide is hugely valuable. So, but give us a little bit about what you do in the discovery session. What does it look like?
Okay, so it's a 7-step proven client enrollment process. Okay, and each step has been broken down to have like a particular goal. Sorry, Nicole.
No, I love it. It's like, get that, the client enrollment process. Okay, yes.
Because that's what you're doing. You want to make sure you have control, right? Because otherwise they'll spend 3 hours talking about what they've been doing since you last saw them in high school, and then you never get to what you said. You never get to talk about your coaching or talk about your offer.
Have you ever had that? Somebody on the phone, and they're just like, woo.
And that's what was happening. That probably happened for the first 6 months of me trying to grow my business. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so wiped out from everybody dumping all their stuff on me. And I just had to take control of it and lead them through.
Ooh, a coach. Yay, I can vent. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So the first step obviously is about building rapport, and the goal is just basically to establish a connection. And you've done a little bit of this with your coaching already for us specifically. And I only spend like maybe 5 minutes on that. It's very brief, right? The second step is just a consultation overview, because you have to move it from having a conversation about what's been going on in their lives for the last 10 years to a professional consultation, right? So the goal is to create an environment of safety and to share the expectations of what's going to happen on the call, right? And you also want to seed your coaching. So you say to them, at the end of this conversation, we're going to have a conversation about, or we're going to talk about whether or not this is a good fit for you and want to move forward with your coaching. So you're kind of setting up the sale for later. And then the next section would be the coaching session. And it's 5 questions. You're going to just coach on 5 questions. And it's, what they really want, how they're going to feel when they achieve that, how it's going to impact their life, how they are going to feel if nothing changes, because life happens and we always have these goals, but then nothing changes. And then what do they think that they're going to need to be successful? And it's really important to take very detailed notes, because when you talk with them again in your follow-up, you're going to want to use the same language. And I think you've already told us about all of that. That's the same part of the process. So the next section is the transition to go from the coaching session into the rounding it up and the closing it off. So you want to obviously thank them and acknowledge them for sharing and ask them if there's anything more they want to add before you move into the next section. And that lets them know that you're moving along, right? So the transition question is really key. And that is, so if you're serious about taking on these goals, is there anything that you can think of that you don't already have that I could help you with, that a coach could help you with? So that they start to think in their mind of how having a coach and the support of a coach through the process would be better for them.
Nice.
Great. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
Sure.
There's more. There's 2 more, but
there's 2 more steps.
Yeah.
No,
and that's obviously overcoming.
Everything. Yeah. Going through that whole, go through the whole. So what else you've got for the discovery session? Then we'll unpack it.
Well, from there, you would answer their questions and you would find out whether or not they want to go through with booking right away. Sometimes they book right away. Sometimes they want to think about it. And that's when you say, you let them talk and tell them, answer that question, that transition question. And then you say, well, from what you're saying, I can see a couple ways that we'd be able to work together, and you want to have options for them. So make sure you recommend the free resource. Mm-hmm. They're going to get that regardless of how things go. And then talk to them about the 2 options, the entry-level program that we talked about before, which is it's always like a month of coaching, whether it's 3 or 4 sessions. It's email support. And I say to them, it's going to give you a process that's going to help you get on the path to success. And then I talk to them about the signature system, which is 3 to 6 months of coaching. And that's where I throw in all the extra bells and whistles. It's going to make sure that they get what they want.
Nice. Really, really nice. And for, if you can tell, it's like, this is a comprehensive system. There's no accidents to, how to do it. Now, it's not complicated, right? But it does require the step-by-step process. Otherwise, you just go into the call and say, okay, we're just going to chat.
Yeah.
And then it's a crapshoot, right? So it's, as to whether or not you get to the end. So I love that. And literally if you're watching and listening to this, is that, think about it and saying, okay, when have because most of you have actually been in business for a while, you have been on the phone with a client or prospect and it's gone really, really well. Right. And you got to the end of it and, and they converted to a client. They said, yes, I want to work with you. What's next? And what was the process? I always look at the debrief and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what did I learn, what can I do next time, either to correct it if it didn't work, or leverage it if it did. Most people focus on correcting that didn't work. But it's also, if it worked really well, then look at it and say, okay, how can I duplicate that? And that's really what has led to Andrea developing this, is saying is, okay, this works. You test it, you tweak it, you tweak. That's why it takes a year and a half to, it's like tweak. A lot of people getting on the phone with a lot of people and crashing and burning, with a lot of people, right? She doesn't need she actually probably doesn't need the script anymore to do it. But it's a good habit to keep, is to having that process. So she makes sure that she never gets so arrogant as to just saying, oh, I know this, and then, lets it go sideways. So that's why a process. The other side to this, and the reason why I think it's important to have a system in place and have these scripts, is that how many of you actually want to bring somebody else at some point into your business, right? So we're talking about the funnel, right? And that first part of the funnel, which is like where you have the widest part, where there's a lot of, leads coming in from different sources, right? Andrea's talking about one in specifically here, which is through your list. But there could be other ways that people are coming into your list and becoming, interested in doing a discovery session. But that's the first taster. So as you grow your business, you could bring somebody on board. And since that's the widest, you could actually hire somebody, right, to do it for you. But here's the thing, is if you don't have a system that it's like, it's time, tested and true, that proven system. If you bring somebody on board, it's going to be a mess. I can say that from personal experience. It'll be a mess because they don't know the things that you know. They're starting out fresh. And so this system will allow you to teach them how to do it and be able to really emulate you in that discovery session process. And so you can so this creates leverage in your business, and it also creates value to your business. Another note of this is, have you ever decided you wanted to sell your business? Have you ever thought it would be really cool one day to be able to have a successful business, be able to sell it, retire and go live on some island or something like that? Well, if that's the case, what you're actually selling, the value of the business is, and I don't know where this came, as I said, it just came up as I was saying this, is that, some of you may be thinking about doing that. And a lot of times people come to me and they say, okay, what's the value of my business? Well, the value of your business is in your client list, but not just your client list, because if you're the magic and, you leave and the clients leave with you, then that's not, people don't want to buy that, right? Because they're like, ooh, it's you. But what they will buy, and that's why the franchise industry is so huge right now, is what they will buy is they will buy your system. That's the value. They will buy your equipment, they'll buy all that, but they'll buy your system as this huge asset to go along with your customer list. If you are the magic in your business, it's really hard to sell that. But if you have a client list now of people are loyal customers, and you have a system to go with that, now you get something that's worth something, right? Because people are now loyal to the system and the brand as opposed to just you. If nobody can duplicate you and do it as well as you, well, that's great, but it's also a problem. Sorry for the screen moving. Somebody, I'm not going to say who, but somebody just woke up and is like moving around, rolling on my desk. So making everything shake. But anyway, so that's really, just think, that's what your value of your business is. So as you take time, and some of you are thinking, I don't have time to do all this, it's worth it. It's worth its weight in gold to do this. So this is great. Okay.
Especially if you're going to be bringing on other coaches under your umbrella name, right?
Yes.
You want to
coaches
have expertise, like as a parenting coach, but you're this type of a coach, then you just give them the system and say, this is how we do it at Coach for Life or whatever.
Yes. How many people are out there that are actually selling their system? Brendan Bouchard sells his system. All of these guys are selling their system. All the internet marketers are selling their systems, even in different industries. As I said, franchises. The franchises are systems. That's what people buy. People buy in the system so they don't have to figure out how to reinvent the wheel. What Andrea has created here And what I'm encouraging you to create in your own business is to increase the value of your business and to make your life so much easier at the same time. Is the system you build the system? It's like it's so much. Anyways, I can't say enough about it. It's so much simpler to do business when you're not having to reinvent the wheel all the time.
Every time.
Yeah. And so that's actually what even the value, that's why people come to you, Andrea, and are saying, okay, what's this system? Because a new coach starting off having to go a year and a half. So people don't have a year and a half. They can't afford to be guessing for a year and a half to figure out how the heck do they do all this. So they come to you, they actually are buying your system so that they can just be up and it's like, oh, well, there you go. Give me the answer. Give me the answer. Give me the Coles Notes version to how to make this.
The Reader's Digest version. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a couple more elements too that are really important.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Okay.
Us on track.
Sorry. It's my C-type personality. A lot of times when I have these conversations with people, they inevitably will say, some of them will say, okay, well, this sounds great, but I need to get home and talk to my husband about it tonight, whatever. And that was posing a problem for me because they can't talk intelligently about the value of coaching because so many people don't understand what a coach actually provides when they're giving them their money. Yes. So that's where the follow-up letter came in.
Great. So, talk about that.
It's an awesome letter. Like that letter has totally knocked them off the fence for me so many times. It's not even funny. And it's really honed down to be effective. So it's a piece of, and by doing it right away, you're arming them really with a piece of correspondence that they can sit down with their husband or their spouse or whatever and have that intelligent conversation because it outlines my process and how I work with people.
This is a difference maker because I've seen a lot of people that teach coaches how to do discovery sessions, right? And they'll tell them how to do it. They don't generally give them a script, but they'll tell them what they need to do and explain that to them. I can't think of anybody in particular that comes to mind that has a follow-up letter in place. And
it's huge.
And Andrea, you said this is where a lot of your conversion actually comes from.
Yes, because they always want to go back and talk about it with somebody else, or they want to think about it, but they don't have the information to process it. Yeah. So the follow-up letter goes through my process. I always start off by thanking them for their time, for sharing, because it takes courage to share, right?
Yes.
And let them know that I'm really, about helping them succeed. So this is why, and I go through the process. I have like a 6-step process. I think the one that's outlined on the latest follow-up letter has 5 steps, but I talk about helping them have like all kinds of tools and assessments customized just for them to help them create a crystal clear vision of what their ultimate success will look like. And I always relate it back to our conversation. So it's a personal note to them. So we're going to create a vision. I'm going to help them elevate their skills around success. So we're going to talk about, goal setting, effective goal setting, hitting targets, putting dates on it, optimizing their natural talents, improving their environment. So decluttering and freeing that, that energy, accountability. I throw that all in there. I'm going to help them identify ways that they can enjoy more fulfillment in their life immediately. And that's just about, how to create joy just by being more present, stuff like we've all learned, right? And then we're going to co-create some action plans and strategize how to put them in place in their life. And through it all, I'm going to offer my support, help them stay focused and on target, and help them overcome setbacks, which are definitely going to occur. So that way they've got something in their hand that they can refer back to, because really ultimately you're asking them to take a leap of faith and give you money, right? So they need to know the value.
That is excellent. That is excellent. And most people, they'll send an email afterwards, even myself. It's like, hey, you reconnect with them and follow up with them afterwards. But again, not, like the way you've laid it out and said, here's what I do. Yeah. It's almost like for those of you that are inclined to do proposals, this will save you having to do proposals. You don't need to write a proposal explain to them how you're going to do this and you're going to do that, because it's a similar system to all your clients. And so you automate it, or you systematize it, I should say, create a template for it so that you can replicate it. And it's so much faster, save yourself time, make more money, and enjoy the process a whole lot more. Because that's the thing that pulls, causes people to have to pull their hair out, is like, oh my gosh, okay, now I have to, think about, what do I do next, right? What did I do last time that worked? Or what did I do, several times ago that worked? The last few didn't work, and so you create this great system. Okay, so step 1, build a list. Step 2, welcome new subscribers, invite new subscribers. Step 3 is your discovery session. She's got a few other steps in here in terms of how to create your name.
Oh yeah, that's important.
Having a have fun attitude. And then, of course, having the successful discovery session, the steps to that, which she gave us, and let me just do a quick review of those. So building rapport, the consultation overview, coach on the 5 key questions. What do they really want? I know that was one of the things I was going to mention, is that you say something which is really great, and this is good for even whether you're a coach or whatever it is that you're doing in your service industry, is most people will focus on what are the benefits. You also want to look at what are the consequences and ask them to consider and saying, okay, well, if you don't do this, or you don't take action on this, like, I want to create this, right? This is the problem that's going on in my life. This is the struggle that I'm having right now. Okay, got it. Now, what are the consequences of not doing anything about that? Like, what is the impact of that, right? So that they understand that pain part as well, not just the benefits. Because if you only focus on benefits, then there's like this huge gap. And I promise you that's where the objections are likely to come, right? From them, or from their spouse, or their spouse throws a question to them and then they go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So, so there's this everything is, it's the unity of plural, minimum of 2. I remember one of my mentors used to say that. I'm like, what does that mean? But it's so true, is when you think about it, you got to look at both sides of things. And then you have the whole picture. So that's really important. So coach on the 5 key questions. Next, use a transition question, and then bottom line, ask for the business. Right? Answer any questions, handle any objections, and roll or determine the next steps. So that's her process. Now, if you overlay that with the sales system that we just talked about, that is like very similar. That's her process. That's how she's developed her sales success system. I gave you my sales success system, or like a general template system that can work for any business. Now it's about tailoring it, and Andrea's done it so beautifully here. And that's why I wanted to bring this practical example on for you this week to look at and saying, okay, you don't need more data. Let's go back to the sales success system, that process, and create it for you. Until you create it, it's not going to work. It's not going to do anything for you, if that makes sense. So, tailor it to you. Look at all those. She's done that here, and those are the steps. The other thing is that you also have, Andrea, just before we finish up, you also have the referral process in place. So after she's done all this, and she's done the follow-up letter and all, right? So she's done the discovery session, and then she's followed up with a follow-up letter. Her conversion rates are really good, so people come on board. They love her coaching. Awesome. Now she also has a referral process in place. So we're not going to go into too much detail on that. But Andrea, you do have you have a process for your referrals, and that's part of your system that you have developed. That you kind of went from beginning to end and said, okay, this is the whole system that works for me in order to generate clients and to keep the ball rolling.
And I usually don't ask for referrals from clients until I've kind of established the fact that things are going really well. Like, I've helped them with
earning the testimonial. Yes,
exactly. So this is when when I've got some time in my business and I want to book discovery sessions, then I offer these discovery sessions to them first as a way to kind of thank them for, being loyal, and say, I'd really love to work with, your referrals before I go ahead and open up my business to new people. So if you can think of anybody, and I constructed a letter that they can use. All they have to do is just kind of, because everybody wants something simple. They want it to be done for them. So as much as I can make it easier for them, it's going to just increase my chances of success. So I actually like to write. So I wrote those so that all they have to do is just take off the top of it and send it off to their referrals.
Perfect.
And then they can respond either directly to them or they can respond directly to me.
So this is an email. So
Yeah.
just to clarify, so you actually talk to them, you ask them, and they say, sure, yeah, I'd be happy to.
Or I just send them the email, because the email is a 2-part email, right? It's one for them saying, this is what I want to do. If it's something that you're interested in and you can think of some people and you'd like to refer my services, I promise to take great care of your referrals. Here, you just have to delete this part of the email and send this part out to your friend.
Right. So I just wanted to be clear on that. So she actually's got it. So it's like, here's the body of it. Send that, copy and paste. Boom. There you go. So it makes it nice and easy for them. They're not having to spend time and saying, how am I going to promote Andrea? How am I going to explain what she does or what our coaching is doing? So fantastic. Well, one of the things that you're also really good at is copywriting. And you've been doing a lot more copy writing for people. And it's amazing because, when you're good at something, this comes back to when we talk about discovering your purpose and the shape is, one of the questions was, it's like, what are the things that people come to you and ask you for help on? Well, people are coming to Andrea like crazy, asking her for help with their stuff in copywriting. She's done it with this process here. And she's also done it with whether it's Facebook posts and landing pages that we talked about, all that copywriting, newsletters, sales copy, all of that. And so that's also why, because you happen to write really well, is that your scripts really flow well nicely too. And they're also duplicatable and helpful to use with everybody. She also, little plug for Andrea, and she didn't ask me to do this, but I'm going to do a plug anyway, because is images. She also does really good, so copywriting and images. So she's a coach for life, clearly. Is not only does she coach in your relationships and your health and your finances, is that she also will help you to get your message out there, which is super cool. And all of this, there was a note that I wanted to mention here, is all of this is designed to help you to three C's. Is to develop the clarity of, your process. Why do we put a sales process in place? Why do we put a marketing funnel in place? It's so that it's clear. You can't, it's like one of my teachers when I was growing up was a music teacher, and she said, and we were instrumental, so we weren't choir or anything like that, but she said, if you can't sing it, the song, you can't play it. And what she was saying is if you can't visualize how it sounds, then you're not going to ever be able to play it. And if you do play it, it'll be mechanical. And so the idea is if you don't know the melody, if you don't know what it's supposed to look like. And so the idea of having your system in place, your marketing system, your sales system, later when we talk about recruiting systems and different things, for those of you that are looking to build teams, all of that to systematize your business. And what it does is it brings clarity so that you can see, you can visualize and saying, this is what this is my next step. This is what I need to do to be able to create success. And that leads to confidence. Confidence is, once you are clear, where does lack of confidence come from? Is because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So when you have clarity, you can now have confidence. And of course, on the side of the client, there's also the level of competence, right? Is to know that you know what you're doing and you sound like you're an expert because you know what you're doing, And so I say that it's kind of obvious. It's clarity, confidence, and competence. It kind of sounds obvious. And some of you are going, yeah, okay, I already know that. But think about that is how can you create more clarity in your business? How can you create more confidence in your business? And how can you create confidence in yourself in and through your business? And how can you create more competence? Is systematize, visualize what it looks like, visualize what it takes, and map out what does it take to create success in my business. And if you don't know how to do it yourself, then what you do is you ask. ask for help, ask for clarity. This program is part of, to help you do that. There's also people like said, Andrea. I go to Andrea sometimes and ask her for clarity on things. And I say, hey, what about this? What about that? For copywriting, because she's great at it. And so I'll ask her and say, what do you think about this? I'm not clear on how I could, and she comes back to something, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I was trying to say. So really, really cool. Now, Andrea, thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I know I kind of went on weaving my little tips and so forth in there. I hope that wasn't confusing to all of you. That's why I recapped it at the end. But I just want you to, think about the different, it's not so much just what you're doing. It's the task. It's not like, I remember when I was starting out in business and I was like, somebody just tell me what to do. And
what a step-by-step process.
Yeah, I just want a step-by-step process. Just tell me what to do. Now, there is an advantage of that. You can learn from people. But the other side of this is that you all want to be business owners, successful business owners, turning your purpose into profits. You want to have a profitable business, make an impact in the world. Along with that, what I'm also teaching you the background, the whys and the whats and all that, is because what I realized is that when I was saying, tell me what to do, it was almost like I was expecting somebody else to do it for me, to do my thinking for me. And that is not what we're talking about. You use these tools to be able to think more clearly, to have the confidence, to have the competence, but to be able to free up your mind, to be able to think about and be creative in the things that are going to move your business forward, and to add on and to give it your own personality and all of that. And that's really important, as I said, because I want you to understand. And some of you have got a lot of experience in business, but some of you are just starting out, and I want to give you the shortcut to building that business. So hopefully it has been helpful to you today, as I've weaved in some other things and
awesome
as well into that. Okay. So, one last thing is, as we finish up, is some of you are saying, okay, awesome. Andrea's got this great system. How the heck do I get a copy of that? I'm not going to do this. Isn't a sales pitch, but I'm going to put a plug in here for Andrea. And I will say this, is that if you want her sales process, if you want her discovery session process, if you want her sales process, bottom line.
What it is.
That's what it is. If you want that for your coaching business, or if you want it because you're going to tailor it to your own business, then I would encourage you to contact Andrea. This is a plug for her. And so I encourage you to reach out to her, ask her. She's got this whole package where she will give you the welcome letter. Well, actually, so first of all, the invite. Okay. She's got the invite in terms of how to invite people to a newsletter, the script on how to do that, plug and play. Awesome. Right. So how to invite people to your newsletter. Then the welcome letter, once they are subscribed to your newsletter, which includes the invite to the discovery session. And then when you do the discovery session, the script and the outline for the discovery session, and then the follow-up letter afterwards, and also the 3 different types of referral letters, whether it's family and friends, or whether it's clients, or whether it's acquaintances. So she's actually got 3 referral email letters that she's actually written that are excellent. I've seen all of her work. It's amazing. So if you want a copy of that, because you're like, Nicole, this is all awesome, I just want to just give it to me and I can be done with it and use it, then reach out to Andrea, and she can, you guys can work out and talk to her. She can tell you about her program. And I also want to say, for those of you that are on the call, that maybe there will be some specific strengths and skills that you have, that expertise that people come to you for and ask you questions on and ask you for help, about even how to grow their business, that you just happen to be really good at. As we go along here in the next coming weeks and months, maybe we'll have you on here and talk about what it is that you're doing, so we can help each other, so we can all collaborate and win together. I'm not the one with all the answers. I have a way that I do business that has worked well, but there's people like Andrea who have this strength of building, scripts and outlining and processing it, and creating a process. I'm almost like too unconsciously, and that's not arrogant, but just unconsciously competent of it, because I've been doing it so long that it's almost like I take for granted. I forget some of the things I do, and I go, oh yeah, I do that. Right. So it's actually getting present to how do I do the things that I do that are just become so automatic. It's like breathing. Right. But that's taken so long to do it. Andrea spent the last year and a half figuring it out. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. You got, yes. Perfect. That's how I do it. You just laid it out. Perfect. I love it. So
Thanks.
we're going to talk about it, and that's exactly how this call in this conversation came to be. So again, thank you for listening. Andrea, thank you for being.
Well, thanks for having me. It's awesome.
It was a pleasure. And
first video ever.
I was just going to say, I also had, this was an inadvertent back door to get Andrea to do a video. You notice and like that one. So, to get her comfortable doing video, because she's got so much to share, as all of you do.
You're so sweet. Thanks, Nicole.
And I believe, not that I want her, to go and do video like, crazy, like some people do video every single day. Doesn't need to do that, but she's got an important message, as all of you do, and I want her to be able to get it out there. And so this was kind of an opportunity for us to do that here today. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got some lessons and some learning out of that. If you want her process, just talk to Andrea, reach out to her on the Facebook group, and you can get that from her. And I think that's about it, for this week. And anything else you want to add, Andrea, before we wrap up?
Just that it's really important to kind of like to stand out from the crowd, and you can do that with this process. Because so many coaches, they are just kind of fly by the seat of their pants. So having that system in place will make you stand out. And choosing the words, we didn't really talk about it, but naming your session creatively and extending those benefits makes all the difference. And that's why I'm like, it's my biggest pet peeve is bad copy. So if you want something like edited or reviewed or something, like let me know, because it really makes a difference. For sure.
Oh yeah. Especially with the, thank you. Yeah. Especially with the printed word.
Yeah.
Because that's your only opportunity. You're not there to hear what people's feedback is. When you call and you say something, you can always fix it, because if it's misunderstanding, but if it's in copy, it's like you either lose them, they're either with you or they're not. And, or you're misunderstanding. It's like, how many of you ever send a text message and then went, that's not what I meant, because it got interpreted wrong. So yeah, copy is so important. I will say this though, because Andrea is a big advocate of helping people and giving, is that if you're going to reach out to Andrea, she is a busy woman with a business. Her husband has a business, or she has 4 kids. Please, I ask you to respect her time and pay her for her services. Okay. I'll just be right straight out with that. No, because I know, Andrea, you would do it for free, and so forth, but that doesn't respect her gift, nor does that create a habit for any of you on the call for other people to respect your gifts as well, and likewise. Okay, so I encourage you to do that. Have a great day. Again, Andrea, thank you for being here, and thank you all for entertaining my hoarse voice. I apologize for that. We'll be 100% by next week and ready to rock and roll again. But I hope this has been a value to you. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.